All right, the Utah Jazz lose to the Miami Heat. Important loss for the Utah Jazz as they go towards Cooper Flagg. Let's talk about it. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, that was a massive one for the Jazz. And for the Miami Heat, who knows what's even going to happen with their season. I cannot imagine what it's like to be a Miami Heat fan right now with how their team is changing. I mean, you are basically rooting for Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero and a lot of guys that aren't that impressive, to be honest. The Jazz were honestly not interested in winning this game, and they were subtly doing so many little things. Will Hardy at this point, because what he is doing and how he's manipulating this stuff, playing Markkanen, playing Colin Sexton, but he's doing subtle things to help this Jazz tank because no one knows better than Will Hardy, who coached Cooper Flagg with the NBA Select team that played against Team USA over Olympic breaks. No one knows better, and no one is doing a better job at coaching this team while also leading them, to development opportunities that also give them a loss that makes them closer and closer to Cooper Flagg or one of these top 5 players that the Jazz desperately need to get so they can just start building. Because if they don't start building around young talent and building through the draft, and if they don't start taking advantage of these losing seasons instead of wasting the seasons like they've done the last 2 years, they'll turn into this Miami Heat team where you're rooting for like a late, teens pick in Jaime Jaquez or mid-teens, whatever he was. Bam Adebayo, who also was late teens. Tyler Hero, late teens. Terry Rozier, a trade that didn't work out. Haywood Highsmith, whatever. Kel'el Ware, he actually had some nice moments tonight. I was kind of impressed with him at times. He played pretty well. So shout out to Kel'el Ware, who was doing well against the Jazz third-string center Eubanks, but even at times he got by Eubanks. So, and by the way, Duncan Robinson. So if anything, and I'm rooting for you Heat fans, maybe you'll get something for Jimmy Butler. You've had a good run. I mean, you've made 2 finals in the last 6-7 years, whatever it is, since 2020. So last 5 years, you've been there like twice. But man, this team is what happens when the Facebook Jazz fans take over, and if they did everything that the Jazz fans on Facebook want to do, because eventually you just run out. You don't have any young talent. Outside of Jovic and Jaime Jaquez, that's it. That's it. And basically you could see kind of that ceiling with this Heat team today. Not ideal. For Utah, you see all this young talent. You're seeing a lot of interesting things from each of these players, and they're losing the games, which is most important. We talked about it during the game on the playback, is what a bummer to not have Taylor Hendricks this year. I mean, it's basically one of the just absolute bummers of the season is having Taylor Hendricks not play, because he would impact things in such a big way. And how fun would that have been, since we've been watching Keontae George improve, to watch Taylor Hendricks improve. Next year is going to be interesting, but man, he missed out on an entire year of development, which is it's brutal. Every single year matters. And so really stinks. Johnny Juzang's been starting for the Jazz. The Jazz just didn't shoot that well in this one, pretty much across the board, except Walker Kessler. But when I see Walker Kessler, I don't call it shooting, I call it scoring, because he's not shooting the ball, he's scoring. But Johnny Juzang, 1 for 5 from 3, 2 for 9. I mean, not very good numbers, although he played pretty well, +8. Lauri Markkanen had a rough shooting night tonight. He did hit the ball well from 3, but he just was not hitting inside. 6 for 15 from the 3-point line. He did try to go, it's interesting. He took how many 2-point shots? He took 9, and he made 2 of them, so he's 2 for 9. He does that ISO mid-range that he's been trying to do, and it just does not come off his hands super soft. Not a very soft touch from Markkanen, but he'll get better. we'll see if he does. I mean, at this point, Markkanen's starting to kind of turn into what he is, and what he is a really, really good player. I don't know if he's $48 million a year on average good, but he is a very good player. And, there may be a team out there that has contracts that can make it happen. I'm working on a article for SLC Dunk. Maybe I'll do a video on it too, just on trade ideas for Colin Sexton, because, I come on here and I complain and whine and whatever. Well, I need to show, can't just whine, show that you can do it. And I found one that I think is really smart, and I'm going to find some more. They're there to be done. And Utah needs to make them happen sooner, because I tell you what, these last 2 games, they have put me through a lot of stress. And you know what would be nice? If Utah didn't have to kind of subtly do these things during the game. If they could actually just get rid of a certain player in Colin Sexton, it would do the trick. It would do the trick. But anyways, Markkanen's getting better. He'll just improve when the Jazz just continue to develop. And if Utah gets Cooper Flagg, watch out. Markkanen will get back to all-star form, borderline all-star form, whatever. And Utah gets good pretty fast. That's why next year is fascinating. Fascinating. But we're not talking about next year. We're talking about right now. And Utah cannot waste this season. They can't waste a 3rd year in a row. If you're going to be bad, be bad. Be really, really bad. Stop this kind of halfway stuff. Can't have 1 foot in Babylon and 1 foot in Zion, okay? You've got to pick. And I would much rather just pick and go all the way, right? Instead of just this kind of trying to have our cake and eat it too stuff. And all that work that does is you get burned. You get burned. And Utah is so close to this number 1 pick, guys. Even if they get the number 1 pick and drop 4 spots, it doesn't matter. It means you solidify a top 5 pick, okay? I am going to say that every single show until people who watch these stop making that comment where it's just as easy to get a number 1 pick at 3 or 4 or 5. That is not what you're trying to do. You're trying to raise the floor. If you get to number 1, that means you 100% are getting the top 5 pick. 100%. Now, if you get to 1 and you win the lottery, amazing. And you gave yourself the best odds possible. But you have to get a top 5 pick. You have to. It's what you have to do if you want to build a team that can succeed. I mean, we've watched it now. I mean, Detroit just barely loses to Golden State, but they are just on the rise like crazy. And they got 3 top 5 picks 3 years in a row. And now they can't lose. I mean, they can lose, but they're just growing, and their young talent is growing together. And Utah can do the same thing if they just don't waste it. And so tonight I was really pleased because I feel like the Jazz did what it took to make it happen, along with showing off some really premier talent. I mean, Walker Kessler is turning into an absolute beast. Well, someone asked on the playback, I can't remember, it might have been Tyrone. But Kessler, someone asked, how many centers are better than Walker Kessler? And honestly, we named off 6 or 7. But I mean, I think he's in that, you could argue he's getting into top 10 range. Obviously Jokic is better. I think it's probably too early to say that he's better than Embiid, but the fact that it's a conversation is crazy. I mean, and that's just if Embiid is finished with his injuries and all that stuff, right? Because Embiid just looks kind of washed at this point. Not better than Chet. Not better than, what's his name? I always forget his name, the Boston center that can stretch the floor and block shots. And Porzingis. Not better than Porzingis. He's not, I mean, I guess you probably give the slight edge to Rudy Gobert, but that's pretty slight. He's just getting better and better and better. And then we're going to continue to get picks, So, I mean, honestly, Jordan, wouldn't you probably take Walker Kessler over Capella straight up? I bet you right now if you said to Atlanta, we'll give you Walker Kessler for Capella, they say yes. I think he's a better player in a lot of ways. In fact, yes, he just is better than Capella. Honestly, he's playing incredible. Look at tonight. Walker Kessler tonight, 4 for 5 from the field. He's playing with absolute force, 15 rebounds, 9 points, 2 blocked shots. I mean, he is doing incredible stuff. And this is with Markkanen on the floor, who's a pretty good rebounder in his own right. And look at this. He's just crushing it. He's just crushing it. By the way, shout out to Walker Kessler. His girlfriend is Miss America. Maybe that's what's giving him his juju. Let's see. Colin Sexton. This is the player that the Jazz need to trade. I know there's big Colin Sexton fans out there. Utah has to make the move because here's the thing, and I guess I could make a video about it, but we'll just explain it now. It's why you come to the show, right? Would you guys trade Colin Sexton for the number 3 pick? Would you guys do that? I would do that. Well, that's the idea. Because if you are not trading Colin Sexton and you fall to 5th or 6th, you know what happens this offseason if the Jazz lose the lottery and they're like 7th or 6th or something and get jumped? What's the first thing we're going to hear? Oh, the Jazz would love to trade up. The Jazz would love to trade up. The Jazz love Cooper Flagg. The Jazz love Dylan Harper. The Jazz love Kashusonis. Yekaris Kashusonis. I forgot his name. He's really good. The Jazz love Ace Bailey. Well, like they say in the movie Holes, that's too dang bad. That's too dang bad. Well, guess what? You can make that trade to get to that spot right now by moving Colin Sexton now. So the Jazz would not have wins on this freaking calendar that have them in the 5th spot. Right? So that's what you're doing. And honestly, if you get anything of kind of young talent value, that's amazing. Because Colin Sexton only has 1 year left on his contract, and whatever team he's going to go to, he's going to try to get a big contract. So a team trading for Colin Sexton, it might be a rental. So Utah's not probably going to get a ton. They took too long, and they waited too long, and they probably turned down offers that were plenty fine last year. Yeah, they might have had bad contracts, but here's the other thing. Utah can waive players. You can literally just waive a guy, you know? I don't know. Well, I do know, but Utah's got to do that. All right, look at Collier, 33 minutes tonight. I know he only took 5 shots, but man, is he a tough son of a gun. This guy is just an absolute beast. I love Isaiah Collier. I'm rooting for this guy so hard. He's figuring it out. And, you know, his 3-point shot, he took 2 tonight. One of them that he took, it looked good to me. You know, I think if he just... He seems like a guy that loves basketball and has... honestly, he kind of looks to me like the AAU kid that was just bigger, stronger, faster than everyone. And so he would just absolutely get to the basket and score at will. And that's what he can do. He's so fast and he's so strong. And that strength is showing up in a really cool way defensively. Like really cool. Utah loses this game, but Collier was just even plus minus. And it's part of it is because he is, you know, they talk about like Kyle Lowry as like a fire hydrant defender because you can't move him because he's so strong and his legs are so strong. And Collier reminds me of that a little bit where he's so strong. He can defend bigger guys because they can't back him down. And it's pretty freaking cool. And, you know, if he can figure out his 3-point shot, then he becomes a really, really nice weapon. Like off the bench, if he's hitting threes and doing what he's doing, he becomes absolutely a weapon down the road. But that's a lot of ifs. And a lot of GMs have been fired with Jim. He's got to just start really working on that jump shot and just make that thing clean. It doesn't need to be perfect, but can you be just as good as Drew Holiday or someone like that? Or, you know, even Ricky Rubio at times figured out how to become at least somewhat effective shooting threes. He's gotta get in the gym, gotta figure out that jump shot. And if he does, he becomes really interesting. Right now, it's a little bit of a liability, but he's getting better. And when he drives to the basket, he is so strong. I mean, that layup he made tonight where he banged into the defender, I think it was Bam, or it might have been Ware, I can't remember. But it was impressive stuff, like impressive stuff. So there is a lot to like about Collier, but it really comes down to the shooting. Because honestly, you've got to look at all these players and you got to think, what is this player doing in the playoffs that's successful? And is there something that makes him a fatal flaw in a playoff game that forces him to the bench? We know there's just certain players that they'll have a flaw and it's fatal. And opposing coaches are looking for those fatal flaws every game in the playoffs. And if Isaiah Collier can't shoot and it's game 4 or if it's game 5 and series is tied 2-2, you can bet 100% that opposing coach is not going to put a guy out on Collier. He is going to force Collier to make shots. And so that's where, the Jazz are obviously not very close to being a playoff team, but with a few years of experience under his belt, I think Collier can become something really nice. He can. It's all up to him. It's with all these young players. Cody Williams played tonight and had some real moments. He had 3 steals in like that first quarter. It was really good. He was making plays. Now, he struggled, but that's what you expect from a rookie, especially someone like Cody Williams, who you can tell is a project. He's just extremely skinny and very young. And so you just got to be patient, but let him play, let him get his lumps. But he had some moments. I mean, he knocked down the 1-3 he took. He had 3 steals. He has a few moments every night where you're like, okay, I'm seeing something. And he does defend pretty well. So I know he was a -18, and Utah, this was one of the subtle things. Utah let him play. And those 23 minutes were vital tonight. Utah needed every single one because this Miami Heat team was not going to win the game. If they sat Cody Williams and played Markkanen 5 more minutes and Sexton 4 more minutes, and they obviously had Key and Svi on the bench, but then Utah probably wins that game. And John Collins too, right? So Utah's resting these guys, and I have no doubt there's something not perfect with John Collins' hip, but Utah's being extremely careful because it doesn't matter about winning games this year. It doesn't. In fact, it really matters, but it matters in that the Jazz need to get Cooper Flagg, because if they get a superstar on this team, they get good really fast. Now, that brings up questions next offseason. I don't think they're going to trade Markkanen unless someone gives them a crazy offer, but it might get interesting because Utah only gets their top pick if they're top 8 next year. And, Ryan Smith probably isn't. He's helping with that NIL with AJ DeBonsa. I don't know if there's a plan to also make him kind of potential Jazz guy because Utah might be too good. But if Utah wants DeBonsa and they win Cooper Flagg sweepstakes, I don't know. Things get really interesting. I don't know what they're doing at that point. That's one where I'm like, there's what I think they'll do, and then there's things that I might do. I don't know. Because if you think about that, let's say the Jazz win the lottery and get Cooper Flagg, and it's with their own pick, right? Cooper Flagg is the best player on your team immediately, 100%. I don't want to hear anything. Anyone who tells me Lauri Markkanen, sure, Lauri Markkanen is a better three-point shooter than Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is better than Lauri Markkanen in literally every other aspect of basketball, and that includes every aspect of defensive basketball. It means every aspect of offensive basketball, whether it's handling, passing, driving, finishing, everything. Running pick and roll. He can do everything. He can do everything. That's what makes Cooper Flagg incredible. He's like a jack of all trades, great at it all, right? And he's 6'9" and he cares and he plays his heart out. And you go watch that dunk he had the other night. I mean, this guy is just going to be a stud. Now, if he's a top 5 player, that's the question. Is he top 5 good? I think he's going to be at least top 15 good. But is he top 5 good? That's the question. He certainly has the potential. And if Utah gets a top 5 good guy, that's what you're looking for. And then it's go time, baby. Then it's go time. Because then you're looking at like what the Cavs are doing right now. And things are going really pretty darn well for the Cavs because they banked on Evan Mobley figuring things out. And Evan Mobley figured things out. They got a better coach and they look pretty darn good. They still got to go through the Celtics. That's going to be an incredible playoff series. But Utah needs their own Evan Mobley. They need their own guy that they draft. Let him have his rookie season, and if you think he's that guy, then go out and make the trade. At that point, you make the big-time trade, right? But you gotta get that guy, and Utah's got a lot of hopes and dreams right now. But these hopes and dreams get more possible when you're sitting here and not here. Not here. This ain't it. This is it. Because even top 5, you get a chance at some of these guys. Yegor and a lot of people. I mean, Kaspar's jumped in the top 5 in what's his buckets? Jonathan Gavoni. He has him top 5 now. He's moving up. I don't know where he has all these guys go. I have to look. But Ace Bailey, I tell you what, he might be a little bit of a project, but my gosh, I have a hard time passing on Ace Bailey, even though I think he's kind of got some drop potential, because I think some of his shot decision making is going to scare some coaches. I think that if you believe in Will Hardy and what he's done with like Colin Sexton and some of these guys that had reputations as not good passing players, you know, Ace Bailey has a lot of incredible shot making ability at 6'10". I mean, if I'm at 3 and Ace Bailey's there, it's hard for me to pass up on that. Really hard to pass up on a 6'10" guy that can score in every way, right? Now, the basketball IQ might not be great. He's got more turnovers than he does assists, and that's scary. And that's why I think there's going to be GMs that are scared to take him. And, you know, if you're at 5, you're just hoping and praying that there's a GM out there that just is too scared and he drops. But, man, if I'm at 3, it's really hard. Dylan Harper at 2 is kind of a lock. I mean, he's just proving that he has the chance to be just a focal point of an NBA offense for sure. It's a fun draft, especially up here up top. And I think it's at 3 where you have the debate begin. I think a lot of people are just going to have a hard time passing on this right here. 6'10" is huge. I mean, that's huge, guys. That's so big. And for his ability to score, look at that, 0.7 assists. This is the one that's going to make people scared. It really is. Man, I'm losing my voice here a little bit. But yeah, and look at this, 1.3 blocks, 1.1 steals. I mean, people talk about his defensive potential too. So I don't know. If you're Utah and you get the 3 pick, you got to be pretty happy. Now, you got to hope that it's a lot of faith in Will Hardy and his coaching staff, but I believe. Jordan the GOAT Besserell. How many teams are contenders? Well, I think you got to put the Cavs, obviously the Celtics, OKC. I mean, I guess maybe the Knicks. I don't really think so, though. I think those are my 3 tops. Am I missing anyone? I mean, in the Western Conference, it's OKC. And, in fact, let's just look at it for fun. Why not? Thank you for the $2, Jordan the GOAT. Let's see. Who do I think? I think, obviously, these 2. And then Oklahoma City, look at that. Houston Rockets. Everyone said, oh, I hate to be the host Houston Rockets who fell out to number 5. Houston seems pretty happy to me. Oklahoma City, I think those are my 3 big contenders. Now, there's a few teams that I think are like a next tier where it's like things go their way. Denver's one of those teams because Jokic is so good at the end of games and things like that. I'm going to have to see it to believe it with Houston and Memphis. But I kind of put Denver in that second tier. I'm not a believer in Minnesota anymore. I think they ruined their chemistry. And I know they won tonight, but they keep losing bad games. And then in the East, I mean, yeah, maybe the Bucks. Maybe the Bucks and Knicks are kind of in that second tier with the Nuggets. But I think it's those top 3. Oh, you asked Nuggets. Yeah, it's because it's Jokic. But they look like a mess. And their bench is terrible. And what happened last year is Jokic just wore out. And I can't remember who it was talking about it, but Jokic is a little less in shape this year is kind of the word around the league. Someone was talking about it. I can't remember. And you can kind of see it. Like the defense with the Nuggets is not good enough. I mean, you know, when the Nuggets won their championship, Jokic is not fast and he's not a good defender. But he would at least get in the right positions, and he's got long arms, and he's got good hands, and so he'd get steals and deflections and things near the basket. He doesn't look quite, it looks not great. His defense has not been very good. But we'll see. Anyways, let's see here. Let's go back. Not much else to say in this one. Filipowski is kind of hitting a wall a little bit, but look at this, 11 rebounds for Filipowski. That's great. He had 4 points, and I think he had at least 1 assist. One thing I like is he's always getting assists. He's kind of got that, like, Kelly Olynyk style game. And that may be a good comp for him when he figures out his 3. What's he shooting from 3? I'm curious. I don't think it's very good. It looks sometimes better than it might actually be, but these numbers are pretty good for Filipowski, who doesn't even play that much. So that's nice to see. It makes me want to see what his... In fact, let's look at it. It's per 36, but... he's shooting 29. That's what I thought. I mean, it's not putrid, but it's not there yet. But 29% is maybe a little better than I expected. Let's go to Basketball Reference, and let's look at Filipowski. What was I looking at? Oh, his per 36. So let's go to per 36 for him right here. So per 36, 12.3, 9.3, 3.8 assists, 1.1 steals. I mean, pretty nice. If Filipowski turns out to be a really nice backup big, that's great. Second round pick turning into a rotation player is a massive win. Now, he may get better than that. We'll see. But that's what this season about, and that's what next season is about, to be honest, is just letting these players develop. I got to do something where I kind of predict next year, because I have a feeling it's going to be more young guys next year. I mean, it kind of has to be. Utah has 3 picks in this draft. I mean, they may try to trade the Cavs pick, but I don't know for what. But the Wolves pick is going to be decent. I mean, they keep winning lately, but it's a long season. And they've been doing this despite being extremely healthy. The Wolves have not had a serious injury at all. Like, at all. And they are, a thin red line here, or thin line, whatever. But anyways, if you have any of these teams kind of figure it out, like the Spurs, the Warriors keep losing games. The Kings have won 5 in a row. Like, there's teams that are trying to jump and can. And, Phoenix, maybe Phoenix makes a Jimmy Butler trade, and maybe that actually happens. There's bad vibes with them, and there's bad vibes with Miami right now. So, anyways, I think that's pretty much it tonight, guys. Big time loss. It really mattered. Utah needed this in a big way. And so I'm really happy. I'm grateful to the Jazz for doing this, and Will Hardy doing a great job. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic loss for the Jazz tonight. Incredible. And now, I mean, I kind of want to... What's the math here? Let's pull up my calculator. So, Utah is now 9-27. That means... So 82 minus 36. We got only 46 games left. Almost halfway. February 6th is trade deadline, and these upcoming games are absolutely huge for the Utah Jazz. They've got some games against, look at this. I mean, they got to make a trade pronto so they can lose these games. I think Lauri Markkanen twisted his ankle tonight and needs to be rested for basically the rest of the season. Right? Let's see. Let's put this right here. Utah Jazz schedule. So, January 11th, they play the Phoenix Suns this Saturday. That's in Phoenix. Sunday, the next day, thank you, basketball gods. It's a back-to-back traveling home. Thank you to the basketball gods. They need to lose the Nets, but look at this, guys. Look at this. Home Charlotte. I'm terrified. This is just a massive game. Look at this right here. Charlotte, 1 half game up on Utah. This is massive stuff. Time to bring out the big guns. Because you know what? Charlotte may... I don't know. Charlotte is trying to do the same thing. And they may rest LaMelo and Miles Bridges and, Brandon Miller. I don't know. But Utah has got to lose this game. In fact, this makes me want to look at Utah. Let's just compare Utah to... really quick. I'm curious. Let's go here and let's do... let's switch to advanced and just see where the Hornets sit and the Jazz sit now. Offensive rating, Utah is now at 20. Pretty impressive right there with the Spurs. Charlotte's 29. That's scary. Defensive rating. Utah's the worst defensive team in the NBA. Where's Charlotte? Oh, look at this. Okay, 18 for the season. Not too bad. I did not expect that. So Utah's losing because of their defense, And Charlotte is losing because of their offense. That's where if you're a LaMelo Ball fan and you're a Hornets fan, you got to be a little nervous because they are the second worst offense in the NBA, and it's led by LaMelo Ball. Man, oh man. So I don't know. We'll see, but that's a massive game on the schedule. And then, of course, right after it, look at this. 2 away games in a row against New Orleans. Don't even send Markkanen. Don't even send Kessler. Honestly, Utah needs to rest Kessler. He's been the best player on the floor for a while now. He's been so good. He's changed my mind, guys. I was very pro trade Kessler. I'm kind of in the same camp where I'm like, you know what? Let's keep that guy. But we got to lose these games. So trade Sexton. Make it happen, Danny. Make it happen, Ryan. Make it happen, Will. You gotta trade Sexton. Trade that guy. Make it happen, Captain. And then you got a big one here. I mean, honestly, these are so huge. And these were the games I was nervous about coming into this year. And Utah stupidly won some games they were scheduled to lose, like against Dallas, against the Heat, this stupid, pathetic Heat team. And I think it was that win against the Knicks. Oh my gosh, those wins were so bad. So, big time stuff for Utah to get done. Get the job done, Danny. Justin, Ryan, do it. All right, let's. Oh, I already played the music this long. I forgot the music was on. Or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. All right, guys. If the lottery was today, what would happen? Let's see. Look at that. Utah drops to 6. That's what I'm talking about. If you get jumped twice in the lottery and you're at 1, that means you get the 3. Instead, look at what New Orleans does. Look at what Washington does. They're number 1. Guess what? They get the 4. And guess what Utah gets for all their pain this year? The number 6. So Utah's got to do the right thing, man. Number 6 in this draft, if they get Kasparis Jakusonis, that's pretty awesome. He's looking pretty great. I kind of think I'm leaning towards Edgecombe because I want to get that defensive talent guy. Utah needs defense. They are the number 30 defense in the NBA. It's time to start getting the defensive talent, right? KG10 to TH5, $2. Kessler needs to rest from wearing his girlfriend's crown. That's right. That's right. All right, guys. And thank you, KG10 to TH5, for the $2 donation. I appreciate it a ton. A ton. Let me refresh this. I want to make sure, in case we have anyone new. By the way, if you haven't already, like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support the channel, you can join. Hit the join button below. All right, let's give a shout out to the All-Stars, guys. Thank you so much for what you do for me and for this channel. I appreciate it a ton. Let's give a shout out to Ryan Edward Perry, the legend, Baby Elliott Matson, see ya, Alexa Later, Christian House Money to Haas, the Outlaw Jesse James Nelson, Jordan the Goat Best Roll, Austin our Grant Editor Extraordinaire, KG10 to TH5, and Patrick Akubo, the Connoisseur. Guys, I think you're all great. Thank you so much for being here. Jazz, do the right thing. It's big time stuff coming up. You got to lose. I'll talk to you next time, guys.